My name is Weaver. Good morning to everybody. I'm going to speak about work done by Viktoras and myself about open-ended intelligence. Since we don't have a lot of time, I would like to start from the end, just show you the last slide of the conclusion and then go back and try to make sense of what is in the conclusion. So once you see the slide of the conclusion, you can go and keep on with your coffee. So this is the conclusion. It's open-ended intelligence in a nutshell. Open-ended intelligence is a theoretical concept. It's a different way to think about general intelligence. And maybe the main thing to understand about open-ended intelligence and what is novel about it is that open-ended intelligence is a process. It's not a capacity, it's not a property, but a process. It's a process of individuation when groups of initially disparate agents spontaneously achieve coordination and bringing forth complex individuals, environments, and interactions between agents and environments. Open-ended intelligence is an abstraction of cognitive development and sense-making. And actually it manifests all around us at many scales as processes of self-organization in diverse complex systems, organic and artificial, in ecologies, in beehives, brains, and of course human social systems that Martha was talking yesterday afternoon about in the parallel conference. And open-ended intelligence is truly general in the sense that it is not directed or limited by any a priori given agents, goals, or environments. So this is in a nutshell what I would like to speak about. So now I will try, we'll start from the beginning. And just to answer shortly, what is general intelligence? General intelligence is the ability to achieve complex goals in complex environments. This is something which is conventionally used by the artificial intelligence community and also elsewhere. And this conventional concept of general intelligence is teleological in the sense that it is made or evolved with an a priori given final purpose. So we can be comfortable to call it a global-oriented intelligence. So what I would like to say is that the way that we conventionally use the term or the concept of general intelligence is, by its very definition, a goal-oriented approach. But to this approach, there are some serious limitations. Because first, they neglect processes of agent and environment differentiation and boundary formation. So when we have an image of an intelligent agent, it already operates in a certain environment. Maybe we don't know a lot about the environment, but we have already a distinction between an agent and an environment. Also, we usually neglect processes of goal and value formation.
we know that intelligence never starts with solving a problem.
there is a prior, earlier process where a problem is being figured out, or a problematic situation is being figured out, and then we start to think what to do about it. And then we form goals or values or things that are more likable to happen or more things that we want to happen. So we don't start with formed problems. We start much earlier, and also in this boundary formation between agent and environment and goal formation, also intelligence is being involved, and this kind of intelligence is usually being neglected in the conventional approach. And also we usually neglect environments of multiple intelligent interacting agents when there is no a priori definite set of goals or knowledge of other agents' goals. And because all the agents in the environment can be assumed to be intelligent, they also have shifting purposes, shifting goals, shifting methods, so the situation becomes much more fluid than we usually need. So we concluded the current approach to artificial general intelligence, and actually to general intelligence without the artificiality of it, it neglects the more profound and difficult to define processes involved in the emergence of intelligent behaviors. And this is what we want to address. So the questions that comes to mind is, can we still think about intelligence if we give up clear boundaries and distinctions between agents and environment? And also, the implied observations and actions that are made possible by such boundaries and distinctions. Because we have to understand that once we have observations and once we perform actions, we already have certain distinctions that list them. And if we give up the a priori distinctions, can we still what can we still think about intelligence? And of course, the third point is, can we think about intelligence if we give up definite goals and the associated mappings of the words that comes with them? It seems that there is nothing left to build upon. And if there are no prior distinctions, how is one to make sense out of some nonsense situation where no agents or objects can be identified to begin with? Dobzhansky, it was a theoretical biologist, he said that nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. On the same token, we claim that nothing at all makes sense except in the light of evolution, when by evolution here we mean that the emergence of order out of disorder. In short, we try to examine what we call self-organization, and the Global Brain Institute in Brussels. This is one of our main working concepts. It's the process of self-organization. So, open-ended intelligence is a new concept, and it is an attempt to develop a metaphysical approach to self-organization and to bring to light the intelligence that is inherent in self-organization, which comes prior to goals, distinction between environments and agents, etc., as I mentioned before. The conceptual leap about open-ended intelligence is, while the concept of goal-oriented intelligence that covers most of the conventional thinking about intelligence is answering the question, what does it mean to be intelligent? The concept of open-ended intelligence that we are in the process of developing focuses on a prior question, what does it mean to become intelligent? So, a working beginning or a working definition of open-ended intelligence is actually, it is a process. Open-ended intelligence is the process of becoming intelligent. It is the sense-making that precedes clear distinctions and goals and brings them forth. And this is one of the more important insights that are involved in this approach of open-ended intelligence. So in order to make a very short comparison between goal-oriented intelligence and open-ended intelligence, we see that goal-oriented intelligence deals with definite boundaries, more or less definite goals, and definite capacities, while open-ended intelligence deals with situations where there are fluid boundaries, progressively determining goals and capacities, and it is metastable and problematic. I will explain a bit more about this. Now about the ontology of the ontology which is involved in open-ended intelligence also involves a concept that is central to this approach, which is called individuation. And the open-ended intelligence is focusing on individuation rather than individuals. Individuation can be seen as a ontological paradigm shift, because instead of positing individuals as the primary ontological elements, it posits as primary the process of their becoming, or in other words, their individuation. And here also there is a very short working definition. Individuation is the formation or becoming of individuals, and it is a primal formative process whereas boundaries and distinctions arise. And in order to understand a bit more what does it mean, individuation always starts from some situation of incompatibility, where a collection of interacting elements pose to each other problems or challenges that prompt or drive resolution. These situations we call problematic situations. These are situations are unstable, naturally unstable, not organized, and they lack coordinated interactions between agents. Just for a very simple example, imagine two people that have to do something together, but they don't speak the same language. So they have to start and to coordinate their activities before they are able to collaborate or to cooperate. And in this process of coordination, there is some kind of intelligence which is involved, which is not addressed by goal-oriented intelligence. So these problematic situations are actually what starts to drive processes, those processes that we associate with open-ended intelligence. And these situations do not give themselves to systematic descriptions, and they bring forth all sorts of intensities, all sorts of forces that drive change, drive all sorts of activities that eventually can converge into something which is more ordered. So problematic situations are driving processes of individuation. About the mechanism, just very shortly, we have to consider interactions among a collection of initially incompatible agents. The outcome of these interactions is at the beginning contingent, unique, and unpredictable, and does not follow any systemic development. Individuated systems arise from a population of disparate agents only when groups of agents become compatible. So they start to interact between each other, and slowly by slowly sometimes, not always, they start to create all sorts of coordinated activities among them. And this is how systems or individuated systems arise. And therefore, the concept of compatibility is distinguishing between organized and disorganized relation, which are both structural and dynamic when we think about populations of interacting agents. And here comes a very important, very essential concept having to do with this approach, because compatibility, which is achieved between agents, is a consequence of achieving coordination. Coordinated agents, in contrast to incompatible agents, they affect each other in a non-random manner, but still maintain a relevant degree of distinctiveness in their milieu. And open-ended intelligence is associated with the coordination achieved by initially disparate groups of agents in the course of their interaction. And what is coordination? Again, very short definition. Coordination is the reciprocal regulation of behaviors, even in terms of exchanging matter, energy, or information among interacting agents. We keep it very, very general at this stage. Agents, finish? 2 minutes. Agents overcome initial compatibility and become coordinated by constructing their own or each other's set of possible behaviors, as well as their connectivity. In other words, they reciprocally determine or select each other's behaviors. Of course, mutual modification of behavior requires feedback, so it is basically a cybernetic process. And the last few slides is that we relate individuations of system as cognitive, where we use cognition in the broadest sense possible. And we also possible to draw a connection between open-ended intelligence and the individuation of cognition. I will pass this just to make another connection, the connection between open-ended intelligence and the individuation of cognition has to do with this concept of sense-making that I mentioned at the beginning. And what is sense-making? Sense-making is the bringing forth of the world of distinctions, objects and entities, and the relations among them. And we understand sense-making to be the individuation of cognition as applied to general system, not only to agent. And maybe what's most important about sense-making is that actual sense-making is a continuous process of integration and disintegration of individuals taking place in a distributed and fluid network of agents and their interactions. There is no a priori subject or agent who makes sense. Both subjects and objects, agents and their environments, and respective goals emerge in the course of sense-making. And this is actually the essence of open-ended intelligence. So here, this is the last slide. So I talked about evolution, and these are, in the center there are 3 concepts: open-ended intelligence, sense-making, and individuations, that are all processes that are related to each other. And this brings about what we call goal-oriented intelligence, cognitive systems, and individuals. But the kernel of it, or the core of it, is a process and not a consolidated capacity or ability to do something. And here we are again in the conclusion. And there is a lot to say about it, but not in this time. So thank you for your attention.